And how often do we allow ourselves to even consider that I can actually find joy in my job? Our topic is perfectly fitting for this
It is
chaos that we're
perfectly,
having.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone, we are starting with chaos, which is so perfect for our topic. I have
Yeah.
Dr. Riggert here. Say hello to everyone, please, here in Brain Fresh
Well,
land and your own land.
I
Yes.
will say hello, and I have
Yes.
Dr. Mary Rensel here. So thank you for joining me.
Oh my gosh. It's like a double recording, guys. So it is really fun. Yeah.
It is, I mean, you're a productivity expert and we're bringing fun in. This is
Yeah.
definitely aligned with our messages and our authenticity.
Okay. It's all you. I'm going to let you go first because I'm like that.
Well, I have the pleasure of being here with you, Dr.
Hmm.
Mary Rensel. She's a neuroimmunologist. She helps high achievers find joy and meaning, finally. And how often do we allow ourselves to even consider that I can actually find joy in my job? And what does it even mean to create meaning in our lives? So many of us get lost in the high achievement trajectory and we lose sight of who we are and what our core values are. So I am looking forward to talking more about you. You are an expert in all things brain, and we don't talk about joy enough. So I'll pass the baton to you.
Wow. Look at us. We're like, it's like a race, but we just keep sharing the baton. Right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you got it. Cool.
Right. Well, we started saying, Dr. Riggert and I were chatting first, and we decided that, this issue, this taboo issue of having fun or enjoying yourself when you work in healthcare is tricky, right? Because we have very serious conversations with patients. I'm a neuroimmunologist. I treat, teens and adults with a chronic disease. And so a lot of times I'm having very serious conversations, but I do not shy away from having fun when it is okay. As I'm walking the patient to and from the room, we might chat a little bit or share a joke or something because what I found is the fastest way to build trust is with joy or laughter.
Yeah.
And I guess, business literature and things support this. So it makes sense to me. So, but I never saw that modeled regularly for me.
Yeah.
And so now when I give talks, I usually try to keep it light. So I like to do a lot of speaking lately. And I always try to infuse some lightheartedness, some joy, some whimsicalness of the topic because we know that's a great neuro state, don't we, Dr. Rigger? We
It
know.
is. And how hard is it to tap into? I was just thinking when I was younger, my
Mhm.
nickname was Silly Jilly. Humor was a top coping skill of
Oh,
mine,
that's cute.
and
Hmm.
I loved to be known for my playfulness. And
Hmm.
I lost the capacity to tap in. When you said joy, I'm like, God, I haven't experienced joy. I'm in a research study right now, and it asks me, like, on a scale of 1 to 100, I mean, 0 to 100, how much joy are you feeling right now? And I'm consistently like, my brain's not
Not
there.
much.
And to even tap into humor, I actually, when I was neurosurgery resident, I had a therapist. I was suicidal, okay, and I was severely depressed. But he brought in humor into our therapeutic sessions in a professional way,
Wow. Hmm.
and it really snapped me out of feeling like I was always going to be in this darkness. It was so supportive of be like, I don't always have to feel this way, and it gave me that glimmer of hope.
That's amazing. Do you remember anything he did that made it
I d
lighthearted or
Yeah, I mean, it was just I actually went back to him.
if you
I
want to
went back
share?
to him
Yeah.
10 years later.
Yeah.
He was professional, but he made, like, a joke or, like, I was taking myself so seriously, and he would say something that was, like really it's just it takes down the seriousness of
That's
it, but
nice.
yet
Yeah.
keeps it's like, this is a very serious problem. Like, he's validating, he wasn't invalidating, it wasn't disrespectful. It was just the way his personality. I'm still laughing, I'm, like, trying to remember what he said.
Right.
It was, in our Western approach to healthcare, if someone says they're suicidal, people send the sirens, put them in the emergency room, lock them up. That doesn't that doesn't really help, maybe saves people's lives in the short term, but maybe makes them worse because 'cause they're oftentimes in this holding pattern, and he wasn't afraid to sit with me in that, and now I just started my own master's in therapy, and I'm, learning that. It's like, when do we need to sound the alarms and put somebody in a safe environment? And when do we just, we need to sit with them in it and be like, that's the brain does that, and validate that.
Yeah, I know teens like that I love very much who have been through that, and meaning they reported they were suicidal and then subsequently locked, and the police frisked them in the ER, and it's such a difference that one of my teens, let's say that I care for, who has MS, and I call and I say, hey, this person's having an MS relapse. We need to get them in, and it's like 3 calls, and they're laying in a comfy bed with their, stuffed animal and their favorite blanket, and they're cared for so quickly. And then as opposed to, these teens I'm thinking of, I won't say who, but it's just they were laying in ERs for up 12, 24 hours.
Yeah.
They, and the police were always involved.
Yeah, it makes you feel like a criminal. And of course, we
Yeah.
have to keep in mind, being like, sometimes it's just the distance, getting people distance from things that could be catastrophic.
Yeah.
It's like, can we do it a humanizing way? And of course, now we're talking about crisis. So, and if we step it back
Right.
to non-crisis levels of where we want to bring play in, but it was just to capture, like, even in those times, where he had deemed that I was safe and not in an acute safety concern,
Mhm.
he could bring me back in touch with that playfulness. And where I had resisted that playfulness was because I was kind of culture I had learned that humor was immature. So, like,
Mhm.
I didn't want to be goofy. I needed to, like, look professional, and, like, and he showed
Mhm.
me that doesn't have to be that way.
I love that. Yeah. And I think it's so, yeah, my hats go off to people that can use it, in a setting that is a serious setting, but also brings people together in the room really quickly. I mean, hats off, because I have seen it done well as well. And yeah, I think that's a gift really, to use humor in such a way. But we did, yeah. So we started talking about how I golfed today, and I went to lunch with friends, and I connected with people, and it was just, and I met new people golfing, and it's just nice, and why does that even matter is because neurologically, that's a great state when I say, like, I'm going to take this time for myself. Why do I like golf? Because it's outside. I get to see beautiful trees. I meet new people. I'm trying something. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm not good. I'm not good at all.
Awesome.
But
I
that's
love it.
makes me laugh even harder because it's like
Yeah.
hilarious. Like it goes all over the place. So, but I do think that is like a taboo topic that I did not hear, and I hope our residents hear more now, but I didn't hear it like in my training, that you also need to save time for yourself
Yeah.
to go have fun. Um, I mean, I know we would have nights out periodically as resident. I was trying to think, like, what do I remember? And some things
Mhm.
are just not the words, but it's just like the modeling, of what you
Exactly.
see in
Yeah.
medical training. Um, but I think, like, my message to myself a lot of times is like, don't talk to people, just get your work done, put your head
Yeah.
down, get your work done. And then as I dive into the literature the last 3 years, and I'm like trying to break the status quo for women docs, I think it's not what the productivity research shows. You shouldn't just keep your head down and not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
You actually should lift your head up, have fun periodically, look up, take a deep breath, go outside, get a little bit of fresh air, talk to people periodically. Not that you're not also getting your work done. But I think there's contrary messages that are generally unsaid, maybe just modeled. What do
Mm.
you think? What do you see? What messages have
It,
you seen
yeah.
modeled?
Well, certainly, even that productivity, the word productivity, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean for you? What does it mean to be
Right.
productive? And does it align with your core values and what matters to you?
Yeah, I mean, I like efficiency. So like I don't like to waste my time because my time is valuable.
Yeah.
So if I go upstream on that topic, it's that I have 4 kids. I don't want to be wasting my time on anything. They're my priority. My family is my priority. My health and
Yeah.
well-being is my priority. So I don't want to waste time. So that's what productivity means to me. It's like get things done. I need to get done that maybe not my favorite things to do,
Mhm.
but get them done. So I have more time for things that really fill me up personally. But I also know I have to flip that on its head from what I was modeled is like, go have fun like when you retire. Like when you retire, you can have fun.
Yeah.
But right now you're going to work hard for, this many decades. But don't worry, you'll have fun when you retire. And you'll get
Yeah.
fit when you retire. You'll exercise when you retire and you'll make friends when you retire.
It doesn't make any sense. Isn't it
It
interesting?
doesn't.
And my catalytic events was I faced a life-threatening illness and realized that like, and it wasn't immediate where I changed my thoughts and behaviors. And so I sat in a hospital bed in 2016, wasn't ready to deal with it, went right back to work to numb it out. And then 2017, same thing. And then by 2020, 2021, I didn't have the energy to continue the path that I was doing with this cycle that we are sold, which is why my messaging is so deeply convicted about we need to pause and ask ourselves, are we actually living the lives that we want, or are we swimming in these indoctrinations from societal pressures? And you nicely just said, like, my family is my priority. So I'm going to be productive. And the word that you said is the things that need to get done. Like they truly need to get done. And if you want to inventory, like, does it actually need to get done? Or am I being busy because busy feels like I am higher status, or I feel better when I'm busy because I'm avoiding my emotions, and society tells us that people who are busy are more important. And it's not true. It's actually not sustainable and burning many of us out. But if you can capture even 20% of your time and do something that's joyful, you can reduce your burnout risk and hopefully create more space in your brain to then audit, like, are the things that you're doing, like, check them today, look at them, do they have to be done, why are you doing them? And then I was talking to Dr. Ann Sung, who's another productivity coach, and she introduced me to the Eisenhower matrix. Have you heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
No, I can't speak to it. No, I think I've heard
Yeah.
of it, but I can't
For
really speak to it. Yeah.
for anyone here, you just Google
Hmm.
the Eisenhower matrix. It's a tool that helps you decide what's urgent and what you need to do versus things that can be either delegated or taken off of your plate. And also just thinking, my brain goes into overwhelm quite quickly in the morning because I think of all these things I could do today. And that helps me prioritize, well, what needs to get done today? And then put on the calendar the things that can be done another day and when they'll get done. And I realized if I don't do that, and I have a whole list of things, I'm less likely to get anything done because my brain's just like, ah. So
Mhm.
as a neuroimmunologist, tell me what's
Squirrel,
going on
right?
when my brain is like so
Squirrel,
overwhelmed.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I think again, it's a cultural issue right now is focus and that the world moves really fast. Everything moves faster in our media than it used to move. So we're used to things moving really fast. And so it's really a challenge for us to focus on anything for any period of time. Um, so, as I sit here looking at a screen, I have two phones over here. I really, if I was doing this correctly, like no other screens, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is it, focus. Because even if they're here, like someone said, you really need to just put them in the drawer. Like you can't even see them. Even if I don't see them going off, they're distracting me.
Mhm.
Have you seen people at restaurants lately? Like you'll see
I
like
can't
there's
stand it.
people and there's
I can't stand
phones.
it.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. I wanna check all those phones. My phone is over there because it's distracting, and you saw I got a new watch today, and I put it over there just because if it beeps or anything, I'm like,
Right.
I get so easily distracted that I know for me
Right.
that that increases my level of overwhelm, and I have to be intentional, otherwise I'm emotionally, mentally, and physically exhausted every day by, like, noon because I just constant bombardment
Yeah.
of stimuli.
Yeah, I did hear that distraction is, unhappiness. So when we're just distracted, which is very easy these days because there are, even when you pump your gas, there's a screen at you talking, shouting, like there's always distractions. And distraction is happiness, is what, one of the happiness researchers said in their book. So again, so yeah, if you start your day, when I start my day, and I always plan my weeks and my day, and I literally have like a planner to make sure I have everything that's important to me. And literally go down to the minute sometimes, like this is my time just to relax and have fun. This is my time to plan my nutrition for the week. This is my time, to call my friends because those are my priorities. Then I put in everything else in the week. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that they said distraction is unhappiness, and that makes sense to me. On the flip side, what is happiness? I mean, there's a wonderful book. I probably have it close, so I'll find it as we chat. Um, by Dr. Sonia Lubomirsky. And she's a happiness researcher, and
Mm,
she said you're happy when you're pursuing a goal, not
exactly.
even when you hit it, but when you pursue.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, it's beautiful because I'm always trying something, you know, like I was
Mhm.
trying golf today. I'm
Yep.
trying, you know, I always like to try something. And that's why, because she said, when you're planning, you're pursuing a goal, there's a lot of interesting things that are happening when you're pursuing. You're probably meeting and talking to people. You're
Mhm.
planning your days maybe a little more intentionally. You're thinking about what's important. So in the pursuit of a goal, you know, there's a lot of great like neuroscience that happens.
Mhm.
And it puts us in a positive state. So I think we need to warn like all the new grads that are out there. They're really happy with graduation and then they think, oh, what's next?
Yeah.
Like that's for them to decide. But I would start pursuing a goal, you know, a new
Mhm.
goal.
Mhm.
Because that is where the happiness is, not the like, woo, look at the diploma, which is interesting because that's another message we get, right? Like you have arrived, you're successful, you're happy when,
Yeah.
but that's actually not true. Yeah,
Yep.
from what the researchers say. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar's book Happier came to mind. He's the one that coined, I think he's the one that coined, or at least is given credit for the arrival
Mhm.
fallacy.
Okay.
And it's like that constant thing of we'll be happy when we reach this goal, and then we reach the goal, and then like, okay, I wasn't happy. And Arthur Brooks also talks a lot about what you just mentioned was happiness is not a destination. And we're not going to feel happy all the time, but it's like happiness is in the journey. And many of us, I know for me, I was just putting my head down and I was pushing away people. So we talked about connections. We had an amazing, like, this is the evolution of a very nice connection that we had a little bit ago.
Mhm.
And I realized that for so much of my life, in order to achieve, I pushed away people because I thought it was a distraction. Like if they asked me to go do something, I was like, I have to study. If I do that, it's going to compromise my grades, right? And I'm not going to have all this time. I couldn't be present even when I had a boyfriend in dental school that told me, when you're with me, you're not with me. I was like thinking about what I needed to do.
Mhm.
And his comment to me really makes me check in a lot. Like, okay, I'm going to be intentional. When I'm here with you, I'm here with you.
Mhm.
And, when I'm with my dog, I'm with my dog. But it takes intention, doesn't it?
It does, and that's very important, and that's where, like you said, we have to put ourselves in a state that we can even assess what is important to us, and I think that some people I remember when I was in training, you know, life was going by so fast, I was on call regularly and things, like, I wasn't then really in a great place to assess what was really important to me at that moment. I mean, I did, you know, at times, but I mean, I definitely now as a mom of 4 who are moving on and they're no longer teenagers as of yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah, no, it's a big milestone for us.
Yeah.
Um, so I have more time personally to think about things now and to do things and to be intentional with my time. I actually have to like purposely fill my time, which in the past, you know, my kids would just fill my time. Which is actually kind of fun, but strange because then I have to get to know myself, like
Yeah.
what's important to me, you know, what's needed for my husband and our relationship. So that's like a whole new thing. And I could just, I suppose, just hope it happens, but I don't want to live like that. You know, I want to be very intentional about
Hmm.
putting into my life what's important to me. And I think some of those researchers have come up with really helpful answers to this. And I love that a lot of it is fun and it means like you do get to call your friends and you do get to go learn something new and fun and you do get to put time into your life for fun and joy. Um,
Hmm.
as opposed to the opposite of what we've heard is like grind, hustle, grind, grind, grind. That's I hear this grind word like it's just
Yeah. I can't.
you can't
Oh,
look up. I know. But they say
no.
I just have to for this 4 years, you know. It's
I've
like,
done that. I did
oh
it.
yeah,
So we done it.
I
We did
know.
it. It
Oh, thank
is,
you.
it brings into my body so much pain because I realize that we didn't actually have to make it harder than it is already. Right? Like
Hmm.
many of us we sacrifice as much as we can in order to pursue some belief that we are worthy and enough, and like constantly have this mindset. Like the more that we achieve, the more that we know, it's like there's a graph, Dunning-Kruger, I think, or whatever graph that is, that like the more you know, the more that you feel like you don't know anything, and like the more you feel incompetent and like all these
Mhm.
anxiety things that come up. I'm like, man, if we just like knew that that was a phenomenon and didn't have to judge ourselves for feeling that way.
Right.
And
Mhm.
then in your line of work, right, we know that the brain, I heard someone recently was like, that's just the way my brain works. And that's just, I'm like, man, if I just stuck with the way my brain was so rigid and inflexible and black and white for so many years, if I stuck that way, I would be in a hole somewhere, like just hiding from the world. And the fact that our brain is neuroplastic,
Mhm.
can you share the good news
Mhm.
about that?
I know it's interesting with your wall. I love your brick wall. But I
Thanks.
think I usually tell people like the brain is more of a garden, less of a brick. So when you look at that brick wall, when I'm looking at it, I see like solid structures. I'm sure they change a little bit if we could really see them up close. But the brain, like we have ways to modify it. When we learn, it changes a little bit. Every time we're around people connecting, we can have people help us kind of fill us up emotionally. I mean, I think we're all old enough to admit that emotions come from our brain, not our heart. Like that is another fallacy that's out there. It's like it comes from our heart. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't. We know what the heart does. It pumps the blood. It does not feel our emotions. And so the fact that the place where we ideate, we come up with good ideas, we're creative, and is also the house of our emotions. Emotions matter for our productivity. Emotions matter for our creativity. So a lot of times just assessing like, where am I today? Is this a good day
Yeah.
to work on this or not? Because I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling tired or I'm feeling frustrated. Like that is not the best time to start a new project that where you need to be creative. And that's the whole like emotional intelligence, the EQ,
Hmm.
where people, we have our intelligence, but we also need to be intelligent about what our brain needs. And I think knowing that it's status, I really wish we came with some dials, like we knew like, our emotions are here, our, fatigue levels here, our nutritional levels here, because that all matters to our brain.
Yeah.
But we have to personally figure that out just in life. But I wish we were like a car and we had like a dashboard and we could be like, oh, I need a little more of this, a little this. I can't take a big trip today because I'm really running low, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I feel like someday we might have that, like we might be able to assess those things and we might be able to have a monitor or something like, oh, we got to fill this up. Little
Yeah.
Star Trek-y, but I do think, we're probably pretty close to that. And knowing some of our neurochemicals and things and our glucose levels and all those, like that wouldn't be that hard. Um, but yeah, so I think just knowing that some of the things we hear in the popular press and things are not always correct. So working hard and getting your nose down and never lifting up till your work is done, that's not the best way to work. If in a perfect world, you would start the day with some nourishing activities for yourself personally, and then you would decide what's important in your day. Of course, if you work, of course you have to work. You have to get your work done. You have to pay for your food and your house. That's your housing, that's okay that you have to work. Work actually can be a good state for the brain, depending on what you do. I mean, it can
Yeah.
really help our brains to stay creative and, help our executive part of our brain in the front of us, stay strong and connected because we're creative. So, I think there's a lot to be said for that, but I do think we have to know how to work with it and nourish it so we can get from it what we want. And I just think the other thing is there's something called our connectome. It's like, how are we wired? It's kind of like if you want to think of a subway map or something, like all the different connections. Well, all of our brains are a little bit different. We hear a lot about neurodivergence lately, but everybody has their own pattern of something that we're good at.
Hmm.
And so I think are we all atypical? I don't know, but everybody has their own special mix of neurons and how they connect and what's easy for you. And I think, again, I wish we all could just know to assess that and lead with our strengths because we all like to lead with our strengths rather than kind of filling in the gaps.
Hmm.
Again, that's just what our brain prefers, more positive in that sense. So that's my dream. I think we all need brain school, is what I think, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah. I want to talk to you more about brain school, but at first I'm just going to kind of hear and say some things back that I just heard you say. It's even reclaiming and changing the narrative on productivity, right? And the fact that play and rest will actually make you more productive. It's like you have to trust that to be true.
You have to trust it. Yeah.
And if I heard us talking about being joyful when I was in the state of survival mode, I would be cynical right now. So for
Right.
anyone who's feeling exhausted, like the first thing to do is rest and to trust that in order to capture your creativity, you need to really create space where you can allow your nervous system to calm down, to feel safe. And oftentimes when we kind of stop that hustle, it takes a while for our nervous system to readjust.
Mhm.
For me, I remember that took a lot of different types of support. So for anyone who's there, figuring out what you need where you are at and just knowing life doesn't have to be this way. If you need to borrow hope from us from this conversation right now, please do. I've borrowed hope from so many people along my journey, and we're holding space here. So if you need space to be held for you, and if they need someone to walk alongside you, I'd love to hear more about your brain fresh, your brain school, and how you help people to really, again, find joy and meaning back into their life and their career.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Yes, thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, whoever it does need space, I mean, please just find one or two people that you can be honest with and just let them know how you're really feeling and seek a professional if you need. It's just, there's no judgment, take care of yourself. We don't have dials. We don't know how to manipulate the dials of the brain, what exactly we need. And maybe someday we'll get there. So yes, I created Brain Fresh about 4 years ago because I was not okay with the status quo, especially for women physicians. Um, I couldn't figure out how we know so much science, but we don't know the practical nature of how to live in healthcare in a sustainable way. So that didn't make any sense to me. And I was digging into at this point, I built my own Ocean 11 team. So I hung out with women from business because I thought we don't have the answer. Maybe business has the answer. Maybe women in business have found something. And the reason I had hope, a little hope from them, is they taught me about school bus hours. There was a time when my kids were a certain age and I just needed to work I was working like 3 long days. I was part-time for as a neurologist, neuroimmunologist, which is really wonderful. So I worked 3 days and I was off 2 days, but then I still needed help with the school bus, these little times before and after the school bus. So a pharma rep that I knew, she said, well, we have school bus hours here. I was like, okay, that's brilliant. So they just work those hours so they can get their kids on the bus and get them off the bus. So that gave me that little hope, like, I think other industries maybe have this figured out and we just don't. Even
Mm-hmm.
though we know the science and we know healthcare, we're just not putting it together. So we needed someone else maybe to put it together for us. So hanging out with women in business, I saw some different opportunities for support and for more sustainable living professionally. So I wanted to, I built a business called Brain Fresh to support professionals to connect to professional joy and meaning, and find the tools. So I built a framework. It's a 9-step framework that really helped me personally. And as I've been coaching women docs, and then I got my business coaching certificate last year with Hello 7. So now I'm helping business docs who want to even just think about a business or learn about a business. Because that was one of the things that happened to me. I went to an innovation meeting and all these business people in very fancy suits, like European cut suits. And I didn't know the language they were saying. They were talking about P&L and all this business terms. And I was just like, I need to go to business school. So I did. Yeah.
What is
Profit and
P&L?
loss, profit and
Profit
loss.
and loss. Okay, wow.
Yeah, I
All
know.
right.
So that's just like, but that was just like one of just kind of like in healthcare, like when I go around with the residents, I'm always like, time out, what does that mean? They have so
Yes.
many acronyms. I'm like, you guys, you speak another language.
I just like wear a face.
I know,
You
right?
gonna
Yeah,
tell me
it's
what that means? Or
translation. Yeah. So I need a lot of translation. And the reason is to empower people and to remind people that they have many gifts
Mhm.
and to take some time to get to know themselves, find their values, their purpose, and their strengths, and learn how to, I like to call it brain priming. So what can you do for your brain, before you start the day, and how do you get it into a state that you can really figure out what's important to you? Because again, like you're saying, a lot of people come and they're just on a roller coaster ride for years. So they
Yeah.
are not in a
Yeah.
place where they can be creative or think of something that
Yeah.
they might be interested in. Yeah. So we kind of slow down. And I offer these WAG groups. So these are women accountability groups for women docs. So we meet periodically for a couple months so that we, work together and It's been really fun. Yeah. So I enjoy it.
And where can people find more information about that? I'm
Brain,
very, very intrigued.
brainfresh.org is one. I have a YouTube channel, Brainfresh.
You
Yeah,
might be watching us on
I know,
that. Make
on
sure to
there.
subscribe. If
Welcome.
you
Like and
subscribe,
subscribe.
like, comment, do it all.
All the
Like,
above
subscribe,
as
comment,
well.
share, invite other people. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Because people say, I don't have any money to do this. I was like, well, YouTube is free. So come
YouTube
on.
is free.
I have over 1,000 videos. So come on and watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I wanted resources. Like I used to just be like, how do you do it? How do you do it? Every few
Yeah.
years I'd ask someone else, like, how do you do it? So I
Yeah.
would get a little lesson here and there, but I wanted something more consistently and something people could
Mm.
use at their own pace. So I like a framework, a bit of a roadmap for folks, and then they can fill in their own personal details. Yeah.
I feel like the high achievers are gonna like the check boxes, the framework, the
Yes.
framework,
Oh yeah,
because otherwise
100%.
we're just floating and all over. And as
Always
people who love to learn, we could probably intellectualize ourselves into procrastination and overwhelm quite easily. So I love that you have created it in an organized fashion and
simple.
in a framework.
Mm-hmm. Grade
That's
school.
beautiful.
It's very simple. Yeah.
And the community, right? Like I love YouTube because it can create community if people are commenting and sharing and resonating. And then in your coaching and in your brain school is you said, oh, there's the accountability groups.
Mm-hmm. Wag. I call him Wag. Because
Yeah, what are those?
I have a dog, Leo, and he's perfect except for his breath. So that's what I think of him when I say
Mm,
WAG. So that's a women doc accountability group, and we meet together first. Again, just kind of get our heads in a place, like dial our little tune up, so that they
yeah,
can even think of what's important to them, get to know themselves. We always check, figure out their values, their purpose, their strengths, and then we start like what sounds good, what's interesting. So a lot of people like will say it's fuzzy. I have an idea and it's fuzzy and I don't know how to get it done. So usually even in 8 weeks, like I had someone like build this workbook. She's
wow.
selling it on her website now. It's the coolest. But yeah, so people a lot of times they just feel like they're in a race. So one just said, I feel like life is going by so fast. She has, two kind of like middle school age kids. She's like, I want to make sure I'm not missing something. Like, I 100% agree, So yeah, so I have women docs join and they don't have to come with any ideas. It's just kind of, it's a place to kind of slow down, get to know where you are at this
Yeah,
moment, maybe set some goals. We just support each other. It's only kindness. There's no judgment. There's no shame in there.
I
Hmm.
love this. And hearing a
Hmm.
lot of people are like, they judge themselves because like, I don't know, and I'm frantic and I'm judging myself
Hmm.
because I don't know. And like that is it's created for people that don't know. Like,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
oftentimes for my conversations, I pivoted quite a few times in my first pivot was quite quickly. I switched residencies, I didn't give myself the pause. And what I realized is the importance of us slowing down. Like you can get where you want to go much faster if you slow down, which seems counterintuitive. But if you
Hmm.
slow down, a lot of people are coming because they're running away from something and then they run into the same thing. Like slow down, identify what you want to dial up, what you want to dial down, turtle steps, those
Hmm.
tortoise in the hare, just
Hmm.
trust that you will make it where you want to go more sustainably and probably more efficiently if you slow down, you be intentional.
What you said.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Mic drop.
Well, what, we have so many different things, and I would love to continue to have more conversations. But for this conversation today, what are the main takeaways you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, take a deep breath, and take a minute, to just journal periodically what is important to you today. Like, I literally couldn't answer that question at one point. Like, what do I want today? I had to practice asking myself that, especially when I was an empty nester, because usually other people filled up my day. So if you're at a point where you're like, I don't even know myself, I don't even know myself, I don't even know what I want,
No
I don't know what's
idea.
important, just practice. It's okay. There's no judgment. What do I want today? And do that one thing for yourself each day, and then you're gonna it's gonna become clear what to say yes and no to once you start checking in with yourself a little bit. And
Yes.
also check in
Yeah.
with your emotional level because that will make a difference at this moment. Just get to know what it is. There's no judgment again. It's just like list your three emotions, write them down 3 times a day. Like what is happening? Because that will make a difference for what we see, how we perceive things, how we connect with others. And then of course, see a professional if it stays, especially low moods, for a long, see a professional if you need one. That's the moral of the
Or
story.
even before you need one, like
Before
find
you need
somebody
one.
that's going to walk, right? It's like a kind of a prophylaxis.
Yeah.
And that can look different ways, whatever you feel you need and what you're comfortable with. I love coaches, I love therapists, psychiatrists if you need some support with medications,
Hmm.
friends, connections. So we talked about a lot of play and a little bit about connections, but when I was telling everyone about how I would isolate and push everyone away in order to achieve, what I found in my current life right now is I love simplicity, and connection is like number one thing that brings fulfillment is to hear about you, what you're doing, learn about your
Thank you.
life, what brings you purpose, meaning, seeing the amazing good that you're doing to support other people. Like, oh my gosh, like none of those achievements were ever going to give me that warm fuzziness. No.
Right. It's a great feeling. So tell
Yeah.
people about you since we're share. Here's a baton.
My
Okay.
baton,
Your
thank you.
baton here.
Well, I was
Yeah.
a long distance runner and I am a
Oh,
marathoner,
perfect.
so
Oh my
I was
gosh.
not that great with
With the
batons.
batons. But
Um,
we did pretty well, I think. We didn't
but
drop it,
I'm
right?
holding it still.
Right.
So I am here and if you're on my YouTube channel, the point is to develop connections, showcase the amazing stories of these incredible guests, hear who resonates with you, and get you all connected. And I would love people to take the challenge today, reach out to someone that you love and tell them that you appreciate them. When I was in oral surgery, I was too tired to take the phone call of an ex-boyfriend who I loved dearly, and he passed away that weekend. I didn't get to
Mm,
talk to him again. I do have his voicemails, which is the silver lining. But what I realized in those moments is I was just thinking that we have time. Like, never in my mind did I think, I looked at the phone, it was late, I was tired, I put it down. I was the one with a critical illness. Like, if anyone's going to die, I thought it was going to be me. And I was, a lot of us are emotionally numb. And I say this factually and just not just this is the story of my life, right? I've gotten to a point where I'm just accepting it and hopefully using it to help other people to say, like, our time is short. Like, if it's not going to matter on your deathbed, do you really want to be ruminating it right now? If those people aren't going to show up for you while you're on your deathbed, like, do you really care about their opinions that much? And it takes intentionality to apply and to accept our mortality. And when you do, then you will see that you will live more in alignment with your values and to ground yourself in these moments because, like, whatever, I'm in a, I had a really hard time planning my retirement, like, actually saving for it for a long time. Now I do. But I was like, heck, like, I just didn't think I was going to make it to where I'm at. So we can plan for the future, take care of ourselves, our future selves, but don't neglect this moment that you have today.
mm,
Don't assume that your loved ones are always going to be here. So who do you need to reach out to? And assume that they don't know how much you love them. Like, they know. They know how much I care. No, assume they don't. Remind them often. And also turn that back on yourself. I think when I was thinking about self-love, I had so much self-hate, just so much self-hate. And I thought that the self-hate was going to make me a better achiever or to like self-reject before others could reject me. And through cultivating more self-compassion and self-love and sitting with the discomfort of what that meant, and to then realize like I could have had that my whole life and didn't have to add to my own internal suffering. Like, oh my gosh. And the beauty of it is I get to change because our brains are neuroplastic, as you
mhm.
know so well, right? I get to change that right now. You get to anyone here listening, they get to change whatever's not working right now.
Today's the day. Call someone. I agree. Yeah, send that message. It means the world. Send
And
a
make sure
couple.
send a message to yourself too, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh man, I I feel like a lot of us are givers, but even when you do send that note of appreciation, you'll notice like it's not just for the other person. You'll
Right,
feel
exactly.
inside like it's a gift
It
to
goes
yourself.
both ways. It does. Jillian, thank you for your time today. My gosh, thanks for coming on. Thanks for having me on. We are joint one. Yeah,
Absolutely.
the baton,
So
right?
I think I still have it. So wait, let
There
me,
we
as I
go.
threw it
Right,
away
right.
again, marathoner, not sprinter. Don't learn from me when it comes to handing batons. But
Oh, hilarious.
yeah,
Well,
I
stay
appreciate
well
you.
yourself. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, and I will have Mary's links all in my description down below. So
Me
make sure to
too.
connect with her. If you're on my channel, go over to her channel. Make sure to
Right.
subscribe, like, comment, do your
Exactly.
thing.
All right, everybody, you got this. We care about you. Bye.
Bye.